Hey everybody, Kevin Elliott here with Home Dabbler. I have a project going on that I wanted you to be a part of. I'm actually installing a new door in this entryway right here, and I wanted to walk you through the steps of how to do that maybe for yourself. Now you'll notice, first thing is that I've torn out the entire frame of the old door. And here's why. It's because look at my door right here. See this? Look. It comes on the whole frame. It's called a pre-hung door. The door is actually built into its own frame. It even has the trim molding on it, okay? I really don't recommend that you just try and replace the slab, what they call the slab, just the door, and put it into an old casing. It will frustrate you. It's much easier to tear out the entire old casing and put in a whole pre-hung door. But first, I want to give you a little bit of technique on door language, a little vocabulary, and how you can choose the right door for your space. The most crucial thing about a door is that it swings the right direction and that the knob is on the right side. The first step is you put your back against the side you want to swing, where the hinges are going to be. We want this door, the knob to be here and to swing into that bedroom. I put my back against the door frame. This is where the hinges will go. And then I simply swing my hand the direction I want the door to go. So my back is here. I want it to swing in this way, right hand. This is a right hand in swing door. If I wanted the handle, the knob to be here and the hinges to be here, I would go like this, left hand in swing door. The wonderful thing about pre-hung doors is that they actually come with the trim on them. Okay, the finished carpentry is basically done. If you do this right, you slide the door in, you nail it up, and you're pretty much finished. Except this trim doesn't match the rest of the trim in our house, on the rest of our casings. So I'm going to replace it. I have the trim I want to use right here. That means I have to take this off. This isn't going to be a step for you if your trim matches what you want. I'm going to take this off, and then I'm going to start installing the door. Okay, so I got the trim off now. It's ready to go into the casing. But one more thing before I do this. You'll notice when you get your door that they put a little plug, like a little pin that goes through where the bolt for the knob will go, and you have to take that out. Here's the thing though, is that once you take that pin out, this whole thing's gonna get very, very floppy, okay? Because the door is gonna open, it's gonna swing open. It's really, really hard to deal with, especially if you aren't terribly experienced. So what I do when I install these doors is you have to remove the pin, but I'll go ahead and install the doorknob. And that way, the knob helps hold the door shut while I'm trying to install it. It also helps me line the door up properly once I get it into the hole. Okay, the doorknob is magically on. I figured I wouldn't waste your time. I'll do another video on how to install a doorknob. Now we're ready for this thing to go into the casing. You want to be very careful that the casings, when you put them in, don't start to slide around. It's really flimsy at this point, and you have to go kind of slow, which is why I've staged my door right here by the opening. This is called your rough opening. It's a rough opening. It's going to be bigger than the casing, and it should be, you know, a ½ inch to an 1.5 inches bigger than your casing all the way around. And this allows you to wiggle the door and make sure you get it nice and straight. But because the rough opening is quite a bit bigger than the actual door, you need shims, okay? Shims are simply little wooden wedges. See that? They start really small and go big. Slide the door in, and then you need to put shims all around to make sure it sort of stays straight. I'm gonna slide the door in, I'm gonna put shims all around just to get it standing still. Okay, so that's the first step. Don't try and fine tune right now, just get it in the casing and get it standing still. So here we go. Okay, now I have the door pretty much lined up. I have my shims in. It's in the rough opening. See, it's not wobbling too bad. Okay, now you can stop a second and assess to see how things are doing. You want to slowly open the door and shut it a few times to make sure that things are generally lined up. You just want to make sure that it's not totally out of whack. My door is shutting well. At this point, you also want to make sure that on the casing right here is flush with the drywall. The edge of the casing is flush with the drywall on both sides. So I look in and I see I'm lined up here. Check it, check it. I'm going to tack it in. So I got my nail gun, and I'm going to put one nail just in the top, okay? The top is pretty much lined up, I can tell, so I'm going to slowly open the door and put one nail just to tack this in, like this. All right, so I'm going to put one more nail in on this side, the side with the doorknob. But before I put another nail in there, I'm going to get my level, and I'm going to check this to make sure that we are plumb. In other words, straight up and down. Yep, dead on. Checking to make sure that I am lined up. Ready? And pow. Okay, now, see my door is swinging open. I have a couple of nails tacked in. Everything is nice and lined up. That's what you want to see. Now I can fine tune. I'm actually going to get on the other side of this door so I can see how it shuts. Okay, I'm going to move the camera to this side over here so you can see how I finish this door off. All right, at this point I have the door, you can see, shimmed up pretty well in place. Well, here's what I want to do now. I want to check the door to see how it shuts, because the door will tell you when it's nice and straight and shuts well, because if it doesn't, if it bangs up against something, like see that right there? Hear it? It's catching right there. I know that I have to adjust that frame back a little bit. This is where you can really, really, really fine tune. When you put a nail into your casing, you want to make sure the nail goes through the shim, okay? Don't put a nail someplace where there is not a shim necessarily, because it might bend the casing. It's really, really thin. Okay, I'm going to put a nail in. Just one nail at a time. Don't go crazy. There. Fine tune one nail. Fine tune one nail. And then once you get it all squared up, then the whole thing you can go ahead and put a bunch of nails in. Make sure it's really good and strong. Look at that, like butter. Now you see I have shims all over this door. What do you do about the shims? Take your handy dandy box cutter. The shims are made out of really cheap flimsy wood, and they do that so you can take your box cutter and score it. You don't have to cut the wood all the way through. Just make a groove in it like this. Watch this. And go, and boom, it breaks off. Get all your shims cleaned up. Make sure your door is shutting nice and tidy. I'll meet you back on the other side. We'll do finished carpentry, my favorite thing. Hey, this is called a door casing, and so this is called case molding. What we're going to do is do that nice square, pretty molding around the outside of this door to finish it off. It's really just two 45-degree angles cut right here and here to make that square. There's a certain order you want to do this in. You want to do the vertical pieces first. You want to get these two pieces cut and in place. It's a tricky thing to know exactly where to mark it. On your casing, you'll notice when you look up close, there's a little line scored right there in the casing, and that lets you know that's basically where the edge of that molding should be, okay? So line that up, just like that, and then you take your construction pencil, look across the top right here. You see you have the line that gives you a guide for the top piece. So just follow that line across and make a little mark right there on the edge of your case mold. All right, I'm here at the compound miter saw to give you a little quick tip on how to cut this angle, okay? There's my little pencil mark that I made inside. Now when you're cutting a corner for a case mold or really any other mold at an angle, you need to keep in your mind, a picture in your brain of how this is going to go inside, what piece of the puzzle it is. This is important because if you start at this pencil mark and you cut the angle facing the wrong way, you'll go back in and this simply won't fit. You'll have to cut the whole thing again. We know that this pencil mark is on the inside of the door frame, inside, right? So now the angle will start at the pencil mark and then go out this way. The other thing about case molding in particular is that it has a fat side, see, fat side and a little skinny side. A quick way to remember in your brain is that the skinny side will always face the door. I want to make sure that my angle on my compound miter saw is 45 degrees. You'll hear it lock in. Now what I want to do is make sure that the blade hits my little pencil mark and cuts it back that way. Let's take it back inside and put it up. All right, I have my cut piece of molding, and I'm gonna put it here on the left side. It should match up just like we thought it would. Yeah, see, right about where we want it, and then that other piece is gonna come in and meet it right there. Nail it up. All right, even now, I don't wanna put a whole ton of nails in, because in case something really goes wrong and you have to pop things off, you don't wanna break your moldings. You also wanna nail into the fat part of the molding if you can. So now we're gonna do the same thing for the other side. Now all I have to do is the top piece. If you've done your work here, this is going to be nice and straight across the top. These should be about level. So what you do is you measure from the outside tip, the top tip of that angle on your case molding, that top tip all the way across to the other one, okay? And that is right at 40 3/4. Also on this last piece, I really recommend that you cut it a little tiny bit, just a sliver longer than you measured, okay? What that's going to do is, one, you might surprise yourself when it fits, but even if it's a little bit long, that's okay, because you can always shave more off. Oh, look at that, look at that. It's almost like I did this for a living at some point. Last nail. We'll put one more right there. Look at that. We just cased a door. Just look, it opens and shuts and everything. Right? Fill all your nail holes with some lightweight spackling, caulk all your lines, give it a good paint job. You can do this. And if you have any questions, if you have any problems, as always, message me through the Facebook page. I'll be happy to help. I'll walk you through it. Try to hang a door.